Welcome back. We are going to have a Q&A with Doc Bates. So we're going to start with Marilyn. Got a question?
Yes.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Doc. How are you?
Lovely.
Okay. I have two questions for you. The first one is, how are your books selling?
My books are selling very well. I mean, it was a #1 bestseller on Amazon for the first 3 weeks, and sales have been steady.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The second question I have is, where did you get that gorgeous shirt?
This shirt?
Yes.
Shirt was custom made for Waylon Jennings, and so there's a story behind this shirt. It's one of my prized possessions, and I bust it out for special occasions. So.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. So introduce yourself.
What's
Hi,
up,
Doc.
Ted?
My name's Ted Morrissey. I also am interested in geniuses and have learned quite a bit about many of them. One thing that I've found that a lot of them have in common is that they have disabilities.
Sometimes, yeah.
Darwin, Mozart, Einstein had some kind of learning disabilities. One of the things I thought of, you talk about somebody being told you can't do something, and I wonder if maybe in some cases that might be an inspiration for some of those people that maybe helped them, maybe gave them the spark or the jam, so to speak.
Yeah.
I wonder, have you found that too in researching those people, and if you could expound on that a little bit.
Well, it's hard to know, Ted, whether which came first, the chicken or the egg, because sometimes you see a lot of. One of my best friends is a genius in media, and one of the things that he has Asperger's syndrome, and it's hard to tell whether he does what he does well because of his focus, his tremendous amount of focus. You see that a lot with people with Asperger's. And some people say that Mozart has Asperger's. Don't know. But it's hard to say which came first, But I haven't actually seen in my research any consistent correlation. However, I would say that you see that people who are operating at very high levels of genius sometimes are socially challenged, which makes people like me feel good about
Me too.
There's hope for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ted. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Ted. Come on down, my friend.
Hi, Mike Szymanski, definitely not a brain box. Many of the examples you gave of genius that everybody knows, Newton, Mozart, Tesla, a whole bunch of others, are very obsessive, very similar to your previous question. Very obsessive, very passionate, extremely focused people, to the extent where they're often described as unbalanced. But can this genius, do you think, in this creativity, can that be a casual thing? Can this be something that is not the product of such an obsession?
I would have to say I don't think so. Okay, and here's why. Because even in my book, I talk about this, like there's a whole theme in there. No spoilers, but generally speaking, I believe that you can foster your own genius by putting in the hours and focusing. And that's basically what we're talking about when we're talking about a guy like, for instance, Thomas Edison, who they say never slept. That's nonsense. If he hadn't slept, he would become psychotic in 3 days, okay? He probably slept as much as he needed to. But I think the take home should be that he was so focused on his work, Even Elon Musk is the same way. They're so focused on his work that he can't find time to leave and go home and sleep. He's got to go to his office and lay down on the couch for 4 hours, you know, and then get up and get back to work. So to me, the take home is more the focus element, you know. And to me, focus is something that any of us can attain. We can attain that level of focus. And it's not a casual thing, but it's sometimes intentional. Whereas with some people, it just comes natural. It's just the way they are. Mm-hmm. But you can have it either way.
There was a guy who tested the 10,000 hour notion.
Yeah.
That if you practice something for 10,000 hours, you'll become great.
Yeah.
So he did it with golf. And after several years, he had racked up 10,000 hours of practice, but he improved only marginally.
Really?
At any rate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Something to think about.
All right,
Thank you.
this is going in the trash.
All right. Come on down.
Hopefully that guy was an anomaly.
Hi, Doc. I'm Jody Fincher,
Hi,
and
Jody.
I'm a nurse, and so you're speaking my language.
Awesome.
I've spent many years at the bedside mentoring new young nurses who come in like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I get to take care of people, and they really like hit that reality of being in the care of other human beings is hard, and there's a lot of risk, and so it's a bit of a culture shock. But coming into it as an adult into healthcare, I'm interested in how you made that transition from not being in healthcare to healthcare.
Wow.
Because you're talking my language when you're talking urinary tract stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Or any other bodily fluids. We can just go talk. Okay.
We're.
I got you.
I got you.
Yeah.
I'm understanding you, Jody.
Yes, okay.
It's Jody, right?
Yes.
You know, at the essence of everything that I've done, and even when I was a touring entertainer, at the center of who I was as a person was always people-centered, you know? And if you love people and you truly like to be around people and you truly want to help people and that's where your heart is, it doesn't really matter what you do. You take that with you wherever you go. You can never leave yourself at home, right? So wherever you go, you take yourself with you, and in my heart, it's for taking care of people. And so to me, it was an easy transition to go from being an entertainer to being in healthcare. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And it's good as we bring new people into healthcare for me to help them through that culture shock. Because more and more adults are making career changes, and many are coming into healthcare actually because of the demand. And I think they have that, I believe we're called into healthcare, and I think they're finally answering that call, much like I think you did. So I think that really helps me as I mentor them moving forward. So thank you very much.
You're welcome
All
very
right,
much.
thanks.
For the question.
Thank you. All right, next. Come on down.
Hi, my name is Claire Warrington, and I'm just curious in your research if you're familiar with the work of Howard Gardner and his theory of multiple intelligences, or Don Clifton and his Strengths Finder, and if so, if you could speak to how that kind of interacts with this idea.
Claire? I have no idea who you're talking
Okay. That's okay. So
Tell me about it.
Yes. So basically, both of these, and I think you can speak to this, at least this broader idea, both of these theories are kind of positing that instead of just trying really hard in whatever avenue might seem the most attractive at the time. And I think that a lot of our goals for self-improvement tend to be, let me take the thing that I'm worst at and let me turn that into something good, and let me work, even though I've hated math my whole life, I'm going to work really hard and get good at math. Their theories both posit that we all have things that we are innately more capable and skilled in, and so the 9 intelligences might be, it was him really trying to break down this math and verbal skills are what make you geniuses, but rather, okay, what about the naturalist? What about interpersonal intelligence? And so what I guess is that balance between working really hard, putting in those 10,000 hours in something that you're terrible at and that your brain isn't wired for, in contrast to something that you might have an innate knack for, and then cultivating those things together. So if you could speak to
Claire,
that.
you are speaking my language. Because this is what it's, and you know who you're reminding me of? My uncle, Huey.
I'll take it.
Now,
Do you like your Uncle Huey?
I don't like him.
Oh,
No, you don't remind me of him physically. You're obviously a pretty young lady. He's an old guy, okay? But you made me think of him. Let me rephrase with what you were saying. Because my Uncle Huey was born way down in South Arkansas in Hope County, and he basically can't read the numbers on a tape measure. Yeah, he doesn't know what a street sign says. All he knows is the red one means stop. So he never went to school. I mean, and when I say never went to school, I mean never set foot in a school. And so you can't really measure his genius in an academic sense. However, you put that guy behind the controls of a backhoe, and he is Picasso with a backhoe. And it's all about, he found his jam, which is driving in a piece of equipment. And most of us would look at Uncle Huey and say, what an ignorant redneck. He doesn't have a lot going for him. He's not intelligent, not smart. And you would be right from an academic standpoint. But he is a genius. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question, Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. All right, my friend, come on down.
My old buddy, Dr. BS.
Hey, you bet. One doc to another.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'll tell you what, that's my whole life is about finding your genius and
Yeah.
listening to your genius. When working with people, because here's what I know, you've touched a heart before you ask for a hand here. Don't everybody feel connected today? Yes. Yeah, I appreciate you that. Appreciate you for that. And, you know, having that life to where you're making it to where it's about others, and I can feel that real strong about you. My heart is, since you're really focused on the genius all the time and you're making that your one thing, have you been with people and been able to find their genius just in discussions and questions when you get with someone?
That's a really good question. And I can see why it would be something that you would ask. But in my life, the only people that I've worked with like one-on-one have been people who already kind of have found their jam. So I work more with musicians and entertainers, people who want to learn how to perform better, or how to speak in front of an audience better, or even people who just want to know how to write songs better or play their instrument better. And those are the kind of people I've worked with. So no, I'm not really the guy that coaxes the genius out of other people. So, okay. But that's very intuitive that you would say that.
Yeah, I know you were talking about 10,000 swings and all that. It's evaluated swings, evaluated practices, because
Sure.
you have to really look at that where you unpackage that. I always think of genius like your fingerprint versus your purpose. Your purpose is something you're doing and being attached, but I think that I appreciate you showing your fingerprint today. So,
Thanks.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, thank you very much for being here today. I'll see you next month. A big hand for Dr. Bates.